Hi everyone and welcome. I am Chaitanya. You're watching Chai with Chaitanya. This is a place where we talk about books, movies, and fandom. And today I'm here to talk about this very beautiful, fluffy, adorable read that is Love, Chai, and Other Four-Letter Words by Annika Sharma. I was sent in this copy by the publisher Sourcebook, so thank you for my copy. And we'll quickly go ahead about my thoughts on this book in a non-spoiler way. So let's go and dive right into this. This book essentially follows Kiran, who is a girl who was born in India and then kind of shifted to the States in New York specifically when she grew up and just to, make her life better. Much like most brown girls, she is trying very hard to live up to the expectations of her parents while at the same time also fulfill the dreams that she has for herself. So she's walking on a very thin line, and her parents have a lot of things to consider, considering the fact that her elder sister Kirti went ahead and married someone who was not the right choice of the parents. And anybody who's Indian, who's had even a little history with brown people or Indian people, would know that how much of significance marriages and the acceptance or the approval of parents plays in marriages in India. So of course it didn't end well, and Kirti and Kiran, or Kirti and their parents, don't really speak anymore. So that puts an added pressure on Kiran to do everything right by her parents. So this she is technically the only daughter left, considering that they don't talk to Kirti anymore. So while all of this is on, she comes to meet this really amazing and sensitive and really, really wonderful, but also with a huge past of his own, white guy called Nash. Start as flatmates, and then, of course, over the period of time, they figure out that they like each other as friends, but probably there's something even more. But can Kiran really do something with Nash? Because, well, her parents are always there and they probably wouldn't approve. Not probably, they will not approve of Nash. So it's this whole will they, won't they narrative that goes on in this book, and it is an adult contemporary romance that also has COVID as a backdrop, which is very different from everything that I've read so far in terms of contemporary fiction. So I really appreciated that. Now, going ahead and quickly talking about why I enjoyed this book so much and what were the things that I really liked, and what were the only one or two things that I thought could have been better. So, the first thing that I want to speak about is the beautiful Indian representation. And I felt that I've read so many books with Indian diaspora audiences written by own voices Indian authors or NRI authors, or even by authors who are white. And I think among all of those, I felt that this one came very close. And this reminded me a lot of this book by another author whose book I absolutely loved, which is Anuradha D. Rajorkar's American Bitya. And if you have not heard of that book, if you want to know my thoughts, then all you have to do is just, click on the icon here and you'll get, or I will link it down in the description box below for you. And it reminded me so much of that book because the microaggressions, the racial injustices that people face on a very daily and regular basis were highlighted so beautifully in this book. The fact that she's able to do that without falling into the cliche narratives which have come to be associated with Indian representation in the international market or readership is so brilliant, because it tells you that Indian problems or Indianness doesn't just come from Bollywood, or it just doesn't come from from a certain place which has been overused in the fiction sense. And while, of course, not disagreeing to the fact that your Indianness cannot be represented by Bollywood, it can be. But the fact that India is equal to Bollywood, I think we have to come far away from that discussion and debate, because it's just so much more. And this book reminded me of all those reasons why I think that there should be more Indian writers writing books like these, so that more of the world can get to know that how Indian people are, so that it can erase certain prejudices and stereotypes that people hold against Indian or brown or Desi people in general. The second thing that I really loved about this book was how beautifully Anika has written a love letter to both the places that she's been in and she's loved, which is India and New York. For India, she has the Chai Masala Club, which is, of course, made by all her Indian friends, or I mean, I should say Indian diaspora friends. And on the other hand, you have New York, where of course the book is set. So you get to see and explore New York at its fullest, at its best capacity. There are several places in New York, several iconic spaces in New York where these two characters go to, and there are also some places which are not so iconic and yet they go to, and it just gives you such a beautiful vibe because I am all in for books that are in the city and it explores the beauty of the city. So that was a very fun aspect to explore. The third thing that I really loved about this book was the romance. I felt that the romance here lacked steam, but I was not expecting the steam to be here. I think that this book was on the fluffier side of things, and I just felt that that was right for both these characters. But having said that, I wouldn't have minded if there were a couple of sex scenes thrown into it, considering the fact that this was an adult contemporary, and also that these characters are really old. So, I mean, really old as in, like, they are, I think, 28, 29. I'm not sure, but they're definitely not anywhere near below 25. So, yeah, those were kind of the bigger and broader things that I loved about this book. But apart from that, there were other things as well. Like, for example, the writing. It's so distinct because it's written in third person and it also has character. It has alternating chapters from each of our characters, Nash and Kiran. And that's something that I've not seen enough, at least not in contemporary. I've at least seen that happening in fantasy. But writing for third person, present, and having POVs is just something as an idea is brilliant. And I was amazed to see that how well I adapted with it because I've never read books like that before, like at least not in the contemporary setting. I've read that in fantasy, and that is just a beautiful way Annika's handled it. And of course the cover is just a vibe. It gives such Diwali vibe, and I know that this book has got nothing to do with Diwali. A kurta also, which just adds to the whole festive mood of it, and that should tell you that you should be going out and reading this book. It's also coming out on audio, so for those of you who love reading audiobook, probably this is your time, and we hope that this book also releases in India. And now coming to the only two places that I felt that the book could have done better. One was the way in which the whole parent aspect was handled, and I just felt that the parents did a lot of things which they shouldn't have done. And while I agree that most Indian parents are like that, uh, and I felt that the representation of Indian parents and their struggles, their fears, their just the things that they say was very real. I'm not in any way denying or questioning that, but what I am saying is that the resolution that comes at the end is is not really the ideal way how I would have seen it going or ending, or what I would have done if I was in that position, because the parents really did something or said something awful things, and I think that there should have been a line which were more clearer, or if that was not the case, then there should have been more depth added towards the end where the parents could have been redeemed in a way where it felt more believable. So that was one. And the second thing that I felt was about the side characters, where I really wanted to know more about them, and specifically about Akash, because he's just such a fun character to be with. For one instance, I was almost imagining him to end up with our main character Kiran, but then I just did not see that happening, and I understood, okay, this is not the point of the book. But despite of it, Akash doesn't have a lot of scenes, but wherever he is, he kind of just shines. And of course, I can say the same for other two friends as well, but it's just Akash I had like this personal, connect more with. So that's pretty much it. I think it is a great book for anybody who's looking forward to a multicultural romance, for anybody who's looking forward to something on the cuter, fluffier side of things. It's not a rom-com. It's just a contemporary adult romance. So please know that before going in. The Indian representation is absolutely brilliant. I love the fact that it was paired up with a white guy, and just how they navigated this whole situation. And I ended up giving a solid 4 stars. So be sure to pick this book out. I actually recorded my interview, the Chai with Chaitanya interview with Annika Sharma recently, and it would be out very, very, very soon. So be sure to keep an eye out on my channel. If you've not subscribed, please do that. It helps my channel grow. And I will be seeing you super soon. So if you have until then read this book or heard of this book, or just want to talk more about this book, then feel free to either come into my DMs on my Instagram or on my Twitter, or you can, of course, always leave comments down here on YouTube. And till then, I hope all of you are doing good, and bye.